For the last 3 summers, I've been working in research labs, one of which was the infamous Science Shack. Check out that video in the top right if you haven't seen it already. Anyway, because professors tend not to trust high schoolers around research equipment worth more than a small house, the majority of my research was theoretical. That is to say, I spent my days running simulations and processing raw data. I was upset about this at first, because I didn't think that I was getting the true research experience. But after spending 6 weeks working next to a laser that could burn through my hand and ran on carcinogens, I realized just how nice only having to deal with computers was. After all, the worst thing that can happen with theoretical research is my professor walking in on me playing Minecraft on the university supercomputer or torrenting movies with the lab's terabyte download speeds. Both things I haven't done yet, only because I haven't gotten the opportunity. Either way, theoretical research usually translates into writing code. A lot of it. Across the 3 labs and the 9 different programming languages I've had to learn for these projects, I've easily written millions of lines of code. A finished simulation script or data processing program can take anywhere from 2 hours to 2 days, both of which are longer than my maximum attention span of 2 seconds. Listening to music and taking occasional breaks helps me maintain my focus, but I found that the most effective way to keep me awake is to mess with the names of my variables and programs. Here's just a small sample of stuff that I've gotten away with writing on and in official programs. BIG CHUNGUS, Mighty Keck, Supreme Meme, Ultra Mega Meaty, and I swear if I get another runtime error. Now, you might be wondering how I didn't get thrown out of the lab for writing code like this. Was it because I convinced the professor with my exceptional wit and charm that this was a hilarious joke? No, of course it wasn't that, because I have the interpersonal skills of a rock. Was it because my professor just couldn't care enough to tell me to stop because he was on tenure? That's a much better guess, but that's also wrong. The reality is that most of the time, my professors didn't even read my code. All they saw was the name of the program, the final data, and the figures in a folder that I sent them at 3 in the morning when everything finally managed to run without crashing. I've always joked, however, that this way of naming my variables and scripts unintelligible meme speak was actually a contingency plan, because if the lab ever wanted to run my code again, they would have to get me to do it, ensuring that I stay relevant and hopefully make it into whatever publication they're using the code for. I didn't think this would ever come true, but as I eventually learned, anything is possible in the Science Shack. So after I left the shack, I did my best to forget about the whole thing. The innumerable OSHA violations and the near-death experiences proved to be a bit much for me to handle as I went into my junior year, so I swept all the traumatic memories under the carpet and just left them there. Naturally, I was a bit surprised when I got a call from my professor in December, completely out of the blue, some 4 months after I had stopped working for the shack. Here's roughly how the conversation went down. Hi, is this Jeff? Is that you, Doc? That's crazy. How have you been doing? How's the shack been since I've left? Everything's been great, Jeff. Thanks for asking. I just have a few questions about the code you wrote for me this summer. Oh. Yeah, so I need to run your code to generate graphs for a paper we're submitting in a week. And I noticed that your code is called Big Chunguloid. Is that how you say it? About that. Yeah, so I'm gonna need you to rewrite this whole thing with proper variable names and add comments that aren't gibberish, like Mega Meaty and Ultra Chonkerino. Would you even come up with these things? Sounds good, Doc. I'll rewrite all 1,000 or so lines. Just one condition, though. What's that? You put my name on the paper. You know what? If you get me that code before the end of the week, you got yourself a deal. And that's how Big Chungus helped me keep my job as a programmer and got me accepted into one of the largest and most prestigious academic conferences in the world. Of course, the trickery didn't stop there. I got a text from him a few weeks later after the article had been accepted, asking me for my email so he could put it in the proceedings. I texted back the following. Could you use my email at school.edu? He replied with done, and I didn't think any more of it. That is, until I saw the conference proceedings myself and noticed that my professor had taken my suggestion of what email to use far too literally. Here's what I saw. Professor 1 is with the Science Shack at address and university at address. His email is email@university.edu. Professor 2 is with the Science Shack at address. His email is email@university.edu. Assistant professor is with the Science Shack at address. Email. Could you use email@school.edu? Jeff is with the Science Shack at address. Email. Could you use email at school.edu? My professor had copy and pasted my entire text into the email slot, and what's more, had done it not just for me, but also one of the assistant professors. Keep in mind, this is an internationally recognized society that's supposed to be one of the most reputable sources of information about anything relating to the topic I studied. And somehow this had slipped through its proofreading filters. Never doubt the power of Big Chungus. Remember to like and sub for some Big Chungus luck of your own. Also, help me pay for college.